Hello world and welcome to World's End Tarot. Today we are asking your future self what you need to know right now. We're going to be looking at these Enchanted Blossom cards to pick your reading. I'm also adding these crystals here through the group 1, 2 and 3. So let's go and have a look at the crystals first before we shuffle the cards. This is what we're using for group 1. It's a black crystal with shimmering silver coming through it, which might be a little bit difficult to pick up, but I think it's showing up here in this angle. I can't remember the name of this crystal, but I remember when I picked it up it was supposed to help with seeing more into spirit, being more aware of your intuition, and like all black crystals there's an element of drawing away negativity, and there's a protection element to darker crystals too. So it's much like a black obsidian, but I know it's not. We also have here a piece of citrine. Let's see if that's coming up for you. And I know that that crystal has an element of positivity coming through. Then we have the carnelian, which is small but mighty, in my opinion. Again, another one that eludes positivity. And I'm trying to get my fingers out so you can see this much better. So that's for group 3 there. I'm going to shuffle these now and I'm just going to ask that spirit from the future tells us which card is meant for which crystal. And then you are going to choose which set of crystal or card you are most attracted to right now, because that's where the messaging is going to lie. There we go for group 1. For group 2, please, Spirit. Group 2, please. That one there. And I put that one here. Okay, let's have a look and see what combinations we've got going. For the number 1, we have compassion. Oh, that's not the first time I've drawn that card this week. We have here the elder and the large blue. I'm going to show you a little closer so you can see what's going on here. So that is group 1. For group 2, we have aspiration, mountain pink, and a large orange sulfur. Let me see. That's what you're working with here. And for group 3, we have inspiration. That's so interesting. Aspiration, inspiration, and compassion here. So inspiration is the lupine and the goatweed leaf wing here, this red. So let's have a look at that closer. That's what you're working with there. So I'm just going to leave these with you for a couple of seconds, half a minute or so, and then we are going to go into the readings. There'll be timestamps for the readings below, but for now just take a moment to meditate and decide which of these cards or crystals you are most feeling attracted to for the messages from your future self. So hello pile 1, you chose compassion and this black silvery iridescent crystal here. Compassion is talking about compassion for self, compassion for others. I'm going to read a little bit from the book. They have questions here for you just to keep in mind as we're listening to the messages coming from future self. Future self is asking you, how can you show more compassion and understanding? Who's needing your compassion today? This card is a reminder to breathe and have sympathy for yourself and for your situation. Do not be too hard in the way that you're thinking, you feel, or what your outward goals are. All things are taking time, and sometimes you need space to heal before you can reach your goals. Future self is giving you a moment of compassion right now. So we are going to go through the oracles. I'm asking for the messages. And I'm excited to see what you are telling yourself. This is present me asking future you what present you needs to know. I hope that's clear. Okay. Oh, thank you. Wow. Wow. More messages for future self for group 1, please. Yep. Yeah. Thank you. Messages for future self for group 1, please. Messages for future self for group 1, please. Messages for future self to group 1, please. Wow, thank you. You got a few here. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Messages for future self for group 1, please. What do you want your past self to know, please? What do you need to know? Thank you. Messages for future self, please. Oh, thank you. Yes. Oh, thank you. One more. Messages for future self, please. Messages for future self, please. Thank you. A couple of those ones actually were really quick to jump out. Okay. Wow, okay. Whew. Right. Group 1, your future self is... Your future self is really needing to hold your hand right now. There's some kind of comfort coming through from your future self. Your future is wanting to reach out and help you to move on from something that you're currently struggling with. it's almost as if they can see you in the moment before you jump off into something new, that they're already established in some kind of way from the way that, from the place that they're speaking to you from, your future self is already established and wants to send you a message of comfort. They can see that you are in a place where, I guess because you're looking for answers actively because of the choice of this video that you've clicked on, I think it's safe to say that we know that there is something that needs to be resolved, and your future self is saying it's going to be resolved, but you're going to need to really buckle down and do that hard work. There's an emphasis on finding purpose generally, and future self is indicating that the way that you're going to be finding purpose is by taking much more responsibility for the choices that you're making, and also more responsibility for your role that you're playing, particularly in group dynamics. So there's a leadership card coming out here. This is an indication that a lot of your purpose is going to be found leading others. And I wonder if there's a little bit of nudging coming from your future self. I feel like this is something that you're struggling with at this moment in time, that you don't really feel like you have the leadership qualities that you maybe wish you did, or it's almost as if you're like, I'm not a leader, like that's ridiculous. But your future self is telling you that the way that you get to the goal that you have, or possibly even finding the goal that you're yet to find, it is actually to do with taking up more leadership in your life. It is taking on much more responsibility. It's actually the best way for you to gain more control over your life. More responsibility is going to really build up your self-esteem. It's going to make you feel a lot more confident in your skills, and it's going to lead to a lot more opportunity. Future self is also indicating that that is something where the answer to this eternal question that we have of what's my purpose right now, where am I going, it's going to be answered by taking on more responsibility, taking a leadership role when that opportunity arises. So please be mindful of that at this time. There is such a strong earth energy coming through here. So if you are an earth sign, I think that's quite interesting, because I can feel that's a definite aspect of where you're at. Or very specifically as well, this is a spread that's talking about resource. This is a spread that's talking about the home, the hearth, where you are safe, your castle, your private world, the place that you call home. And I'm talking bricks and mortar, 4 walls. We're talking really literal, in the literal sense. There's something about I wonder if there's an idea of your life that you have or used to have and are currently struggling with needing to change. It's like life circumstances have caught up with you. You had this particular idea of how things were supposed to be, and that's really been challenged recently. And your future self is talking about adapting. It's talking about releasing some of that older energy that you were taking with you. The energy may have been serving you in the past in order to get you to the goal that you had before, but it's almost as if the goalposts have moved. And I feel like there's this confusion going on. I feel like that's why compassion's coming up here. The self-compassion theme throughout partly is because it's like your literal circumstances have changed, and there's some deep confusion you're dealing with. I feel like this release card coming through here from your future self is talking about adaptability. In order to adapt, we do need to let go of the energies that we were working with in the past. When they stop working, they no longer serve us. There's definitely something here where I can see your future self is pointing out the types of energies, the type of belief systems that you're working from, and saying, that's redundant. It's actually really not relevant anymore. You have to change your goals. You have to change your mind about where you fit in this puzzle piece, because we deserve a really good life and we need to plan accordingly for that. Your home's coming up here. I do wonder if there's some move in the future that you're going to be moving to a different place. and finding a new purpose. I do see something about changing up how you make money, changing up where your living circumstances take you, changing up possibly the entire setup of your life in terms of your working life. It's possible that you're no longer really understanding why it is you do the work that you do. I mean, I feel like it's really interesting, because I feel like for some of you, there isn't really a problem with the financial aspect of this. It's much more to do with this idea that it feels futile. Like, it feels like you're working towards a goal that your younger self really wanted to achieve, and somehow it just now feels really stale. And your future self is telling you that this is normal, this is a really good part of your growth, and that from where they're sitting, the work that you're required to do at this point in time is to change it up, to reassess, to work out what your life plan really should be now that you've changed as a person, and now that your goals are no longer really what they were when you first started out on your journey. There's a real impetus about, a real emphasis on that idea of stability. And I know that there's an aspect where this, is definitely, talking about financial stability, but I really feel like future self is really emphasizing the idea of emotional stability. There really does need to be a release and a self-compassion here for not knowing what to do, for that being a part of the process, for that being something that's a normal step before you actually start making decisions. I feel like your future self is telling you not to panic, that this is okay, and that, we can see from the other side that this was just part of that process for you. Not to panic about where you're at, and not to perceive this change of plan as a failure. Future self is also really happy. There's a contentment coming through here. A lot of things really worked out for the better in a way that I don't think future self had really thought they were gonna, or at least couldn't predict how they did. There's something about a resolution here, something about things coming to be, things working out in a circular fashion. I feel like the World card from the tarot is the best way to describe it. It's like the end of a cycle, and you found yourself in a place that really works for you. This is coming through with the Moon cards, actually. It's just a really good sign that future self is just telling you, you know what, it's okay. Things feel a little uncertain right now, but you need to take control of that and just work with it. It's the right thing. The universe is showing you what to do. Just trust in the system. Because there really is an awful lot here to win. And essentially, future self really is focusing in on this idea of making sure that you're fulfilling a purpose in your life, that there's meaning in the work that you do, and in the relationships that you're building, in the choices you're making about what kind of life you really want to be living. And it's okay to reassess that. It's really okay to change your mind. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. Essentially, the main issues here for you, or at least for future self, the main issues that they feel happiness from are to do with stability, financial stability, relationship stability, just the stability of knowing who you are in any given moment. This is somebody who really knows who they are, but they've gone through the process to get there. They've gone through changes and they've adapted. Future self is just letting you know it's okay to adapt. So I'm going to go into this reading a little deeper. We're going to go into the tarot, and I'm just going to pick up a few tarot cards, and I'm going to see what other messages future self needs you to know right now. Just like what are we really working with? What else does group one need to know from future self? This one was jumping. Wow, okay, fun. Interesting. What other messages do you need us to know right now? Yes. Future self, what else do you need us to know right now? Thank you. Wow. Future self, what else do we need to know right now? Thank you. A little bit more. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so group one, future self is telling you that this is indeed the end of a cycle for you, that you have reached the point where you're no longer able to learn anymore, that you've learned the lesson already. This chapter is now ending and a new chapter is beginning, and it does require you to make choices. There is definitely a sign of moving, and that's both with the sense of moving on in terms of what you decide to think and focus on, but also there's definitely indication that for some of you, you're actually moving. Now, that may be moving houses, that may be moving cities, that may be moving countries. There is an awful lot of indication here that you reached the end of a place being useful to you for your purpose, and that now the new place is where you need to begin again. And this is a really good thing, even though it feels bittersweet in the moment. There's definitely signs from future self to tell you that at the time that this was going on, you were feeling really grief-stricken. Like there was something really upsetting about this move. And I think for a lot of you, this move might even represent truly accepting that you failed at something that you thought that you could have been succeeding at, or failing at a plan that you felt you were able to complete and it just did not work out that way. But here, future self is saying to you, these feelings are normal. We felt that way at the time. It's not how we feel now. There's also some indication here that this idea of like four walls and like boundaries is coming through here with the Emperor. There is definitely something going on here about this idea of traditional expectations. I do wonder if some of you had this idea. This isn't going to feel relevant for everybody, but there are definitely some of you where there's been a patriarchal figure, a father figure, who had expectations about how you should be living your life, and to some extent you felt like maybe you were letting that person down, disappointing that person, or even possibly you had internalized this idea of this is the way that you live your life. You do this thing and this is what you do, and A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, this is where you end up and this is what you should be doing too. You had internalized some of this stuff and you hadn't really understood that you had taken on somebody else's expectations, somebody else's values, somebody else's life purpose, and thought it was your own. And there's this process where you have almost matured away from that, and you have realized that you can only live your life for yourself. But at the same time, there was a real grief with that, because you'd been so married to this idea that this was what you were supposed to be doing, that when you were stepping away from it, it felt like you were rejecting that person, even if there was a lot of love there or something, or a lot of respect there. You kind of felt like there was you were rejecting them, or you were scared they might reject you. So that's coming through here for some of you. The other aspect of this is also that there was just like a lot of things that were not really in your control, that were sort of external events that were happening around you, and this is part of the reason why the plan just wasn't functioning in the way it was supposed to function. Take from that what you will. I'm sure that all of you have examples in the last 2 years of something that hasn't quite been going to plan. This is also what this card is about. It's about adaptation. This idea of being constricted by authorities is some of the reason why this reassessment of your life purpose has been happening. And there's a lot of grief with that, because often something that we didn't expect to happen can sometimes really feel very jarring to us, and the transformation of where that takes us to can feel like a loss, because you're grieving what could have been, you're grieving what you thought was, and it's almost like you haven't quite come into that place where you're realizing how healthy this change actually can be, how much better this life that you're about to be living in your future self, in their experience of the world. The changes that you are making now or are about to make have made their experience of the world so much healthier and happier than it ever was before. And they're telling you it's going to be okay. This change is really needed. We didn't realize how much we needed this change to happen. And it feels really scary and upsetting right now, and you don't know where you're at. But trust me, we need to get there. That's where we're supposed to be. Again, there's this echoing through here of self-compassion, and also an echo of new beginnings. Yet again, another idea of discovering. There's an emphasis here with the Ace of Cups about some new romantic relationships possibly. So for some of you, Some of the reason why you may have moved or moving on is partly because you've had a breakup of some description, or there's been a loss in a relationship setting, and suddenly that just doesn't really feel like there's very much reason to be in the place that you're at right now, and so this is partly why there's this idea of grief coming through. I just want to end this reading on telling you and just emphasizing your future self is very much with you on this one, and they just want to tell you that you're going to be okay. This is a really good new chapter for you, and the joy and gift that awaits you on the other side of this particular moment in life is more stability. Let me show you. It's more stability. It's more idea of home and heart. You have released things. Let me see, actually. You're starting to release things. You're starting to release things that weren't serving you. It gets you to a healthier place. You start to understand what it is you really want to be getting out of your life, and you start to step up into a place where you're somebody that other people are looking to for answers, and that's a situation that's really healthy for you. You're somebody that's able to provide other people with stability as well, and it just means that the real part of this journey that future self has gone on has really led to a lot of healing. So future self is giving you a really big hug right now. They're telling you everything's going to be okay, and they're actually really excited for you to go through the lessons that they've already learned. So pile 1, this was your reading. If you enjoyed that, please subscribe. I'd love to have you back here. I've got plenty more other videos, and until then, lots of love. See you soon. Bye. Hello group 2. You chose aspiration and the citrine with the mountain pink flower and the large orange sulfur dragon butterfly. Just gonna have a little look in the book and see what's coming up here, just for quick messaging about this particular card. We're not going to dwell on this too much. We're going to get to the oracle deck in a minute, but the question from your future self coming through right now with this card is, who do I aspire to be and why? This is a card that's asking you to look deep within yourself and think about who you want to be in your life. Aspiration's less about what you want to do than what you want to be for the self. Attach yourself to bigger dreams and a personality that is more than who you are currently. There is so much more to you in your life than people see. Choose to know it and to show it. This is about feeling confident about who you are right now and who you are becoming. So I think that's a really interesting choice that your future self would like you to be aware of, I guess. With the citrine, it's a really lovely combination. So we're going to go into these oracle cards. I'm just going to ask your future self what messagings they need you to know. This is present me asking future you what present you needs to know. If that's something that makes sense, I hope it does. Let's go into this. Yes, thank you. Opportunity. Any messages for future self for pile 2, please? Thank you. Messages for future self for pile 2, please. Messages from future self from pile 2, please. Messages for future self from pile 2, please. Messages for future self from pile 2, please. Thank you. Messages from future self for pile 2, please. Thank you. Lovely. 2 more messages for future self. For pile 2, please. Messages from future self. Pile 2, please. Thank you. Thank you. You've got 1 extra card than the others had, actually, pile 2. With this one. Meditate, contemplate, expect powerful change, and nothing is yet set in stone. Whew. Wow. I laughed when home came up because home came up for pile 1. I think that's really interesting. So, future self is telling me that there is definitely a moment where you're not really sure where you're going and what you should really be doing. And they see that. That's okay. They're saying that. They're commenting on that. It's, you're finding yourself in a moment of contemplation. And future self is actually agreeing with you on that one. They have, almost as if they have 2 different versions of the future. It's almost as if you do have a fork in the road and there's 2 different future selves speaking together towards you right now. That's partly why they're saying it's not necessarily clear for them exactly the best way for you to go about, because arguably both ways that you could go about are going to be very good, and they both lead to a place of happiness, which I know is not very useful if you're coming here with a specific question about should I go this, should I do that, or just generally not knowing what to do. But there's a laughter coming through from your future self. They're laughing at you slightly. They're going, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it so much. There's a really loving presence coming through, actually. I feel quite like that's not very fair, but I don't think your future self really cares. Sorry. That's like, they're just kind of like going, oh, it's not very nice, but well, it's very. I think it's funny, and future self thinks it's funny, but I can imagine it's probably not great for you. But yeah, no, your future self is like, they are finding it quite amusing, actually, that you're not sure what to do. I feel like they're not very sure what you should do either, but they're also quite pleased that you're going through discovery of it, because you know what it's like? It's like when you watch back a video of you when you were a kid and you're kind of cringing, or when you look at photographs of yourself and you're like, what am I wearing? Why is my hair cut like that? That's kind of the experience I'm having here with your future selves. They're both like, and I think it's 2, there might even be more than 2, but they're all just like going, oh God, this was such an awkward era for us all. Like, what the hell were we doing? That's kind of what's coming through here. It's not bad though. I just want to make that clear, pile 2. It's really not bad. It's like, it's almost as if there is, sorry, oof. It's almost as if there is, well, this word opportunity coming through here is really, that's the best way to describe it. There are going to be opportunities coming your way to make choices that are actually going to be affecting the way that things turn out for quite a long time to come, but none of those opportunities need to be worried about. Future self is kind of telling you here, sometimes you're going to have these experiences where, because you're kind of trying to get to a place but you're not sure how to get there, or you're not even sure where the place even is, sometimes there's going to be these times where you feel like you had this opportunity that you'll never ever have ever again. Future self is that's why they're laughing, because they're going, oh no, like, sometimes when you think an opportunity is happening, it's actually not even the opportunity you thought it was. There's going to be times, if you're just coming into the place where you're thinking about the aspirations that you actually have, and an opportunity presents itself, obviously, and in the way that you think this is an opportunity, your future selves are actually saying, well, actually, actually, there was another type of opportunity, but you wouldn't have noticed it because it's only apparent that was the actual opportunity 5 years later. So they're laughing because there's this idea that you're like worrying about stuff too much, and it's almost as if you're not quite able to see the wood for the trees, actually. They're like, no, it's okay. This is a time where you're going to be confused and things are going to feel really like awkward and strange, and some things feel bigger than they are and some things feel smaller than they are, and it's all a bit Alice in Wonderland, and that's in the future quite funny to look back on. But I just want to say for you presently, I'm not laughing at you about this. This is just how your future self is coming up in the reading, okay? They are extremely excited about what you are going to be achieving over the next few years. There's a real delight that they're getting from watching you experience things for the first time and experiment and just sort of quietly explore, particularly parts of your creativity, like parts of yourself that you're maybe not as comfortable with. There's something about that. There's something about delving into the places where you're not necessarily feeling comfortable and discovering more about loving yourself, liking yourself as a person. And yeah, there's this interesting part as well coming through. This nothing set in stone. I think this is what I was talking about before with the opportunities. This is what I mean about some things not being necessarily obviously the opportunity, and some things that feel like the opportunity, you know. So how can I say this, like as an example? For example, let's say that you had a presentation that you feel really has to go very well, or you're not going to get the promotion, or you're not going to get the job, or you're not going to get the good grade. That's basically where it is. And your future self is saying, I mean, I guess that's literally supposedly true, but no, there's other things going on in the background you're not even aware of. For example, you might feel that the presentation went really badly, but there's somebody in that room that thought you did really well, and you'll meet them in another couple of years, and they're the sort of person that they want to collaborate with you because they remember you from before, even if it didn't really feel like that opportunity went well. Actually, in the long term, it really did. This is what I'm talking about in terms of nothing's yet set in stone. You're still allowed to be going through this experimental phase. This is something that's normal and good for you, and it's going to make you adaptable as you go through. It feels like you may be interested in work that can feel more precarious than the more traditional route through employment. There's something going on about this. Future self is saying that there is stability coming through for you in the future. So this idea that maybe you need to make more money and you need to have an income and stuff, yeah, they agree with you, but they also want to tell you you do manage to do that. That's something that's something that's part of the setup for the choices that you're going to start making. And they want to emphasize that that's an important part for them. They do want you to be somebody who is investing in your home life, investing, and whether that means like literally or like relationally, like being with your family more, investing in having a home life, investing in property, that type of thing is coming through with this card here. And that's something that brings you a lot of happiness, actually. Just being able to feel a little bit more in control of the way that your life is going. There's a happiness here. It's this stability that gives you this idea of happiness. In a way, it's like these being able to provide for yourself and those that you love, your family, just brings you a lot of contentment. That's coming through the generosity as well. There's definitely a theme here of like you being a provider, you being somebody who's able to provide, and something about that. This period of uncertainty is funny to you in the future. It's almost as if you're like, but he didn't know. She didn't know it was around the corner, of course, so obviously she was really freaking out. Or like, he didn't know any better back then. There's something happening there with your future selves. They're kind of just like, it's easy for them to say because obviously they're in a situation where they're feeling a lot more knowledgeable, but they are looking back on you with love. It feels very much like they're looking back on like a younger sibling or something, and they're going, haha, they didn't know. It's really nice, actually. It's a lovely energy. A real contented, joyful energy that's coming through. There's a little bit of advice here as well. They want you to think a little bit more carefully. There's a little bit of indication here with meditate and contemplate new moon in Pisces. They would like you to slow down sometimes and to just think a little clearer. I think there is a tendency here for you to act from an emotional point of view more than your future self really sort of, it's like how do I say this? Yeah, I mean, your future selves can see that you get into these emotional kind of, this is the uncertainty bit I'm trying to tap into right now. I don't know how to say this better. Your future self can see that you can kind of go into a rabbit warren. There's rumination that can sometimes occur. It's like you really, really want the answers to all of your questions right now, otherwise you're going to ruminate about it, and your future self is kind of going, yeah, like, can you slow down, please? Because it's not actually useful. It doesn't actually affect anything around you. It just makes you feel stressed. Meditating and contemplating as opposed to ruminating and freaking out, you know, these things are different, but they may look the same. So like there's kind of like an invitation here to really just be like a bit more mindful on your day-to-day, and maybe leaning into things that you do have control over, rather than things that you don't have control over. That's going to be really helpful for you. It's also going to mean that your mind is clearer, so that you can take things as they come a little bit. You can see opportunity in situations that maybe you wouldn't ordinarily be able to see the opportunity in, partly because you're clear of head, you're clear of mind. Your mind's clearer because it's not fixating on things that aren't really helpful for you right now. And even though I was saying, like, this is why I'm saying, like, this aspiration that you have and expecting powerful change. I just want to end on this before we go into the tarot. So for some of you, you really want to have a career that's in the public eye, or at least the career that you're going to be going into. It's going to lead you more into the public eye, maybe in a way that you weren't necessarily expecting. And this is what I mean about this thing is not really set in stone. This kind of thing that relies an awful lot more on luck within the moment. And I think this is the reason why I've got I think it's 3 now. It was 2 before, and I was going to say it was like 3 or 4. There's definitely a group of future selves that are all kind of laughing together and like laughing at you and laughing with each other. It's like there's all these different types of ways that you get to where you get to. There isn't one set path for you. And this is what I mean about expecting powerful change. There's so much that is unwritten in your journey, but all of it is leading to a place of happiness, contentment, and security. This powerful change, this is what I'm talking about. This is the wheel of fortune. This is the good luck stuff coming through for you. This stuff doesn't necessarily come up all the time, but there's definitely this idea that like at some point, if you're ready for it and it's the right path for you and it's supposed to be for you, that there'll be opportunities for you to actually reach your aspirations, and things can transform very quickly. So this is why I'm seeing some of you in the public eye, because it does feel a bit like a sort of trajectory. Oh God, I'm so bad at saying that word. It sounds like a trajectory of stardom. I hope that's understandable. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's some indication of famousness or stardom or just very visibility, and it can be for any type of career. This isn't necessarily to do with the entertainment sector at all. This is other stuff too. But just being visible, this idea of being somebody who people look to. Some of this is going to come from this idea of generosity, that you do have this, you're able to provide for other people, so you're providing opportunities for other people too. And this sort of feeds into the aspiration generally. But there's more than one way for you to get there. And I do think that your future selves are saying, don't overthink the small stuff, even though you can't really tell what the small stuff even is. That's why they're kind of laughing. They know that advice is completely meaningless for the way that you're coming up right now. But like I say, there's a few different energies here, and they're all loving and excited for you, and they're all joyful about. They're even joyful about when you make mistakes. They're like even excited about you making mistakes, because making mistakes for them is something that was much more useful than getting something right. So that's what's going on for you right now, pile 2 with that. We're going to go into the tarot. And I'm just going to ask for these other messages to come through for you. Like, what other messages do your future selves really need you to know right now, please? Can we have some more messages for pile 2? Thank you. Oh, that's nice. Okay. More messages for pile 2, please. What? Oh, hi. These ones came up together. Interesting. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Can I get some more messages for pile 2, please? Thank you. Another one that came up with 2. That's crazy. Oh, they're chatty now, aren't they? This came up with 3. We have family. We have, yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. Right. I'm going to take 2 more sections, and then we're going to have to talk through this. Can you give me some more messages from future? I mean, if there's 4 or 5 or whatever of these future selves, however many you have, pile 2, no wonder they're giving me so many cards. Right, can I please have some more messages for pile 2, please, from your future selves? Can I have 2 more messages, please? I need 2 more. Thank you. Messages for pile 2, please, from your future selves. Do it again. Messages for pile 2, please, from your future selves. Thank you. 10 of Cups. Okay, you have some really lovely stuff coming through, pile 2. You have some really lovely stuff. Okay, so these guys came out together, and I'm going to talk about them together, and these guys came out together, and I'm going to talk about them together. And this one in the end came out. Oh, right. Where to start? Okay, so we'll start in the middle there with these 2 that came out together. 8 of Swords and 2 of Pentacles. This is another reiteration of this uncertainty, generosity kind of card coming through in oracle cards. This is something about the rumination that I was picking up on before. Again, this idea of anxiety. A lot of this is self-imposed mental stuff that really can be dealt with by meditating. Okay, that's what's going to lead to this this balance that they're talking about here. Things are not nearly as bad as they feel. This is partly why they're laughing at you a little bit. They're like, oh my gosh, we've always been such a worrier. Oh, we don't need to worry. I wish we'd stop worrying so much. That there's that kind of energy going on. This is why this meditating card is so important for you. It's the way that you're going to be able to find yourself out of these mental habits. They're habits. They're not. Your feelings are not necessarily the reality. It's just how you're feeling about it. You can actually change how you feel and how you think about something. And this is what your future selves are actually really tapping into here. So that's that. This is another interesting part. It's actually linked with this Justice card too. There's this idea of there's an idea of swatting up a bit, of knowing. This Justice card is a little bit knowing how things work better, knowing the law a little better. I wonder if some of your curiosity about your future self is actually linked with business, and that would make sense because there's definitely businessy type cards coming up in these cards here. This is about just learning how things work better. This is about educating yourself a little bit more about how to get where you're hoping to get to. The aspirational aspect of this, obviously I don't know you personally, but for some of you this could be aspirations to become a lawyer or a judge or similar, something like that. Possibly somebody who works with contractual things quite a lot, so maybe somebody that works in possibly even the entertainment business, but like in the sense that they're representing other people, or drawing up contracts for work to be done. Possibly you're somebody who works with contracts in like a building sense or something. There's these sorts of things, very sort of learned activities, possibly things like architecture as well. That's coming up as well right now. So this is about education slightly, and it's interesting because I'll be honest, I've never read a Justice card to be about education. That's just intuitively coming through right now. So yeah, there is a little impetus from your future selves about getting more learned, and I don't know if that necessarily means going to a university in the traditional sense, but it does just mean like picking up the books, getting down to the nitty gritty. I think that's some of the way that you can lead yourself out of uncertainty, is to actually empower yourself with knowledge. So that's coming through. The Creator is a card that the Wandering Star Tarot has as a special extra card. And for me, that's coming up with boundaries actually right now. It's talking about somebody who's able to make things happen for themselves, partly because they're able to recognize what they should and shouldn't say yes to. They can say no to things. No is quite a sexy word. A lot of people are worried about using it particularly in a business sense, but when you're not as available to other people, you become more scarce and people want that more. So there's something going on there about that. And I do think that's linked actually to this. I had this idea that maybe possibly you were going to end up in a career that led you to be more in the public eye. That's coming through here with a star. So I think this is what the Creator's talking about. It's about boundaries and like your personal circumstances, like knowing what you do want and what you don't want and what's important to you and the reason behind why you're doing it. That's important for you to be aware of going into anything anyway. Just having a healthy sense of boundaries and what you're prepared to create, what you're prepared to give, and what you're not prepared to do. Okay, this one here, these three, just so you know, there's some man outside my window doing some garden work, so if that's coming across on the recording, I apologize. These three cards were particularly interesting to me. They came up here with the star. For me, again, this is another idea of you possibly being somebody in the public eye, somebody that's possibly famous. And also here with the Six of Pentacles here, this again is this idea of generosity and giving to those around you, particularly those in your family and your in home. So this is somebody who's providing for a lot of people. And here with the Queen of Pentacles, you have a lot to give. You have a lot of resources to give. So there's just this idea here coming through from your future selves that you are indeed going to be somebody who is very powerful, very influential, particularly to those around you in your family. You're someone who provides. That's coming through. So if you have any worries going on about the journey that you're taking, about whether or not that you're going to be able to provide for your loved ones, future self is saying, no, you're on the right journey. You are going to be providing very much more than enough for your loved ones, because we're getting that through here, even with love, joy, family, prosperity. That's coming through again. You are somebody who is on the way, in the right way, to provide a life that you want to be living, that you're able to share with your family, if that is your goal. But your future self is asking you to stop ruminating so much on stuff that's not necessarily helpful for you, and the advice that they're really leaving you with is meditation is some of the best ways for you to empower yourself to stop that rumination from happening. So pile 2, this was your reading. If you enjoyed my reading, please subscribe. I'd love to have you back here, and until then, lots of love. See you soon. Bye. Hello, pile 3. Here you are with your carnelian and your card of inspiration with the lupine, the goatweed, leaf, wing. I'm just gonna have a little look at the book, because I like having a little look through the book for this particular set of cards. I'm just going to see what question they have coming up here for inspiration from your future selves. This is a question that your future selves want you to be aware of right now. It's a good question for you to be asking yourself. The question is, how can I open myself to inspiration? How can I open myself to inspiration? What am I doing to help refill my well? So this is a card that is about making some quiet time to listen to your inner self for insight and inspiration. If you have trouble with this, take some time to refill your well. Research and integrate ideas and experiences into your daily life that align with what you want to accomplish. It's suggesting that you look more at art and listen to some music, have some downtime. Let your subconscious mull over your new thoughts and ideas, okay? So your future self is asking you to be aware of that particular energy coming up right now. Just asking you to think about how to get yourself inspired again. So let's go through the oracles. Let's ask future self, what messages do we have coming up for pile 3 right now? Messages for pile 3, please, from your future self. Future self, do you have messages for pile 3? Oh my gosh, just fell out. Those 3 cards just like slap. Okay. Wow. Interesting. Future self, what are your messages for pile 3 right now? Future self, what are your messages for pile 3 right now? Messages for pile 3 right now, please. Messages for pile 3 right now, please. Thank you. Okay, fine. Wow, you have a chatty pile. Let's see what's going on. Whoa, okay. It's a biggie. Okay. 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 Fair enough. Messages for pile 3, please. Messages for pile 3, please. From your future self. Okay. Messages from your future self, please. Another? Okay, okay. This is the chattiest pile I've had today. This is wild. Okay. Ooh, we've already got some themes going through here. Wow. Wow, okay. Messages for pile 3, please. Messages from your future self for pile 3, please. Oh. Messages from pile 3, please. Last month. Okay, I see you, I see you. Yes, I know. I felt like that one was wanting to. That's just for me there. Keep that here. I just wanted you to see, like, that was just an extra one that I was wondering about. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. There we go. There you go. It's time to take action. New moon in Aries. That was just coming up on the end there. It's not necessarily the main message, but there's definitely something here underneath this underlying card. So I just needed to pick that up. Okay. Okay. Oh, not here. There's an aspect of this one that I just want to tap into before we start the main reading. Let me just consult the book on this unicorn card here coming up. Yep, okay. Okay, fine, thank you. So I'm gonna say that, like, for quite a lot of you, this is about... My first instinct when I was pulling some of these cards was this is a little bit about struggling to come up with a new idea. If you're somebody that's working in the creative arts, particularly somebody who writes novels or stories for a living, or is just generally a writer, or somebody particularly who's freelance and in the creative arts, that's just something that's here. If that doesn't apply to you, that doesn't mean that the message isn't for you. It's just that I can hear that some of the louder voices of your future selves are talking about artistic inspiration and really just feeling quite frustrated. Now, the inspiration that we're talking about, the reason I'm saying inspiration, and it's to do with this idea of a freelancer, somebody who uses inspiration and creativity in order to make money. This is particularly pertinent to you. This is particularly the louder voice coming through in this one. If that's not you, that's okay, but I need you to be aware of that, because the career card's coming up here with financial health and manifestation too. So we are really talking about something, a career path that is precarious, possibly in the creative arts, because it may actually be to do with inspiration. It might be research actually too, if you're struggling, like, maybe possibly to think of a research topic or something. There's something about psychology here too. Regardless, the reason is that I'm saying this is something that makes money, and requires inspiration and creative action. And also there's an aspect of really aspiring to make this sort of work, and this idea of manifesting this into your life. So there's a lot of magical thinking involved, a lot of like positive energy involved, because it feels like some of this stuff is not necessarily always in your control. Just so we're aware, there is a man doing some garden work right outside of my window. It's rather irritating for me, and I'm hoping that it doesn't show up in your reading right now, like on the recording, but that is what that is if you can hear it. I wish you would stop that, sir. I felt quite worried when I saw some of these cards coming up, because I feel like you're at a moment in time where you're feeling quite vulnerable and quite intense as well, and it feels very much like your future self is here with you. With that, they're saying, it's okay, I'm with you, okay? We're gonna be okay, we're gonna get through this together. There is some suggestion for what you need to do to get through this, and I also need you to know, nothing is set in stone. Nothing is set in stone. Do you understand that? It's not set in stone. You are not a failure because you are having a struggle at this point in time. Your future self really needs you to understand that. You are not failing. This is part of the process, but they are recognizing that right now you're in a situation where you're feeling very vulnerable, and they see it. There's questions about how to make an income here. There's questions about where on earth you're supposed to be next, or what on earth you're supposed to be doing. And there are two cards here which are speaking to each other within that. Simplicity and purity. They're coming through here. I'm just going to move and shuffle these around slightly so that they make sense for me. Actually, do you know what? This one's speaking here too. And that one's here. Because I want you to see some of the themes coming through with the cards that I've picked coming through here. Purity and simplicity are talking about a similar thing here. There's like, I'm hearing the words pare back, simplify. Pare back is mostly what it is. This is about getting back in touch with the inner child. This is about getting simple about what it is about the expression that you have, that you've been using, this idea of inspiration, paring back that and getting back in touch with the inner child, getting back in touch with the memories of your own childhood, about why it is that, like, what it is about the things that make you tick. Why do they make you tick? What was it about that feeling of expression? What are the things that you enjoyed doing as a child? What were your methods of escapism? Like, what were the things that you used to think about before you fell asleep at night? Like, what were the dreams that you were having as a child? That's what this aspect is about. It's about paring back and getting back in touch with those things, that part of ourselves, that inner private creative space that we need in order to experience true inspiration, in order to get back in touch with the genius that visits us sometimes, this demon that visits us to give us inspiration, okay? Also, your future self is asking you to actually really think about the community that you're in, to actually start leaning into the community. I feel like you have been struggling on your own a little bit much here. Future self is asking you to look for friendships, to look for people who are in the same boat as you, to look for people who have similar interests as yours, similar passions as yours. This is some of the way out of this tunnel, because it is a tunnel. You're sort of stuck in this place where it's almost as if you're like really succumbing to this idea of like this not being something that's going to work for you. Here is this idea of the first quarter moon, this your commitment is being tested. That's what's coming up here. I mean, obviously it is, and this idea of it's time to take action here. That's why I'm saying that this community card that we have working for us, this community card that we have working for us is speaking towards this. There is something that you do need to do that you're not currently doing that would actually help improve the situation you're finding yourself in. You do need to ask for help from your community. I don't know what kind of help that particularly is, but I'm seeing that you might feel a little too proud to admit you're in a place that's got a bit sticky, and there is help available for you if you ask for it, and it is time for you to do that. It's time for you to start asking for help. Yeah, there's also this, your future self is really protective of you. And they just want you to know that you can get through this, and that you have already gotten through this in another part of the universe that they're in, that parallel part of the universe where you've already gone through this. They're there already, and they're saying, it's hard. Please don't please do not underestimate the idea that I don't understand how hard this is. I do know how hard it is. I lived through this myself. You are going to come out on the other end of this, and you are going to be okay, because I'm okay. And I'm telling you right now, I know it's hard. That's why I'm coming to you with the messages. I just need you to get back in touch with yourself, to learn why you love what you do, why you do it, to ask yourself the why. That needs to be answered. It's almost as if you've got a little bit lost in the forest and you're like searching for things, and there's little shards of light coming through the woods. Those are the things you need to start following. They're just tiny little aspects of light to grab into and to walk through. This is this unicorn, this is this community. That's why that's coming. You need, gosh, I'm sorry. I'm going really fast because I feel quite connected, and I'm sorry if this is too fast. Let me slow down. You are walking through this forest, and you are seeing rainbow light coming through, and sparkles, and the dust motes are in the air, and they are moving, and they are showing you the way. And the two ways that are particularly useful for you is this idea of community, of helping, of you helping others as well as them helping you. Really true community. That can be online, that could be a literal sense. I'm seeing food bank as well. That's something that's coming through. And I'm seeing village halls, and I'm seeing libraries, and I'm seeing support systems of talking about feelings in group settings as well as online. I'm seeing family as well, actually, who may not know that you're struggling. I'm seeing a lot of those types of things, okay? And here I have this idea where I'm seeing reminder from your future self to really, yes, again, get back in touch with the simplicity of what made you happy as a kid. And back then, things that felt really big were actually really small when we look back on it as adults. If we had a good childhood, let's be fair, I need to say that. Things that worried us as the kids were quite often things that weren't really real. So for example, like a monster under the bed or in the cupboard. We'd worry about not fitting in at school. And in a sort of way, all these worries feel very manageable when you get older, because you know yourself better. But also when we're a child, things make us happier that are easier to manufacture. This idea of like having some pocket money to spend on the sweets that you get to choose, or getting a new magazine, or the release of a new episode of your favorite television show, for example, or being able to play with your dolls or your Lego for like hours on end and make up stories in your head, or being able to doodle and paint and use crayons and things. Like, there's all these kinds of little joys that you had as a child that your future self is asking you to tap into as a method of helping yourself get out of this rut, get out of this hole that you seem to have been finding yourself in. I need to talk about this particular aspect. We haven't even touched on this yet. This energy, this fire, this power. It's almost as if you're going to be able to actually start to teach yourself how to feel inspired even when you're in the eye of the storm in your personal life or your mental health life. There's something here about this crack of inspiration coming through, and the powerfulness of that even though things feel terrifying at times, there is such a lot of creative energy coming through you in those moments that you're going to be able to learn how to harness. It's almost as if spirit guides, there's this idea of you're going to be stronger on the other side of it. This is about building resilience. I know that that's not something that's easy to hear, but this is actually really a really big opportunity for you to build resilience. Your commitment is being tested. You are being questioned, That is something that is happening. You are not failing in the sense that it's like, oh gosh, this is the end. No. This is a moment of truth for you. Your future self is willing you on to get to the other side here. They want you to get to the other side. And they can see how much you'll change through this. You're going to have so much to say on the other side of this. And it's going to require an immense amount of courage on your part, and your spirit guide, not your spirit guide, your future self. I'm saying spirit guide because you do need to actually tap into this idea of a spirit guide as well. You do need to, that's something that's going to be helpful. But future self is she, I'm saying she, I don't know, I can feel there's a strong she. It's not like the he isn't there, but for a lot of you right now, you're female and that's what this is. Your future self is telling you that you do need to dig deep for that courageous aspect that they know that you have. And that's where your power is lying. It's like you haven't quite worked out how to get there, and then this is where this advice about keeping things simple and leaning into community support is really going to help you, because these worries about financial health and manifestation and career, this is a big question mark over here. It's something that you're going to need to decide for yourself. These questions are totally have an answer, but they only have an answer when you have the tools to use to get to where you want to be. And you need to build those tools right now before you can even start to build towards this future. And that's going to require simplicity, paring things back, falling in love with your inner child once more, and like tapping into that inner energy, that power that you already have. It's going to take a lot of courage, and your future self is there for you, but they want you to do something. They need you to do something. It's time. It's time to do something different. So with that being said, we're going to go into the tarot cards. I'm just going to be asking for extra messages that your future self needs you to know right now. Messages, please, from future self for pile 3. Need messages from your future self, please. Future self, what are your messages for pile 3, please? Thank you. Okay. Future self, what are your messages for pile? Thank you. No, I know. Let me see. Yeah, okay, fine. This is really interesting. Yep. Can I have 2 more cards, please? Messages from future self, thank you. Messages from future self. For pile 3, please. One last one. Thank you. Okay, good. Right. It's going to be okay? That's what's coming through here. The thing is, we're coming up here with this 8 of Swords energy and this creator energy. You're going to have to say no to the part of you that wants to catastrophize. You're going to have to say no to that part of you every single day. You have to not catastrophize. That is not what you need to do. Almost arguably, this is, I think, and I felt reluctant to say this before, but if you start catastrophizing and believing that everything is completely lost and that that's just how it's going to be forever, you're actually going to bring that into fruition. The manifestation, financial health, career card, you need to not think about that in that way. You have to remain positive. And I'm not talking about positive thinking, I'm just talking about this idea of really folding into yourself and allowing yourself to believe that there's no way out of this, because I'm being told that that's not true. I'm being told that that's not the case. You're going to have to take every single step as it comes. You're going to have to be really careful and purposeful about how you spend money and how you build towards the future that you want to have. This is also a time of massive transformation for you. That is not to be underestimated. You are going through a huge personal transformation. And I think a lot of the things that you took for granted that were the way they were before this massive transformation are probably not even going to be recognizable by the time that you're finished with this. You are somebody who needs the transformation to happen, however. It's going to feel really scary because this change is so huge, and this aspect of change is also affecting how you feel as a person in terms of like who you feel you are as a person. Like you feel like you're changing as a person. And this feels really scary and not very comfortable. And it's a little bit like a snake shedding its skin. It just has to happen. The thing is though, luck is on your side. There is very strong chance that this is going to go well. This is partly coming up here with the Wheel of Fortune. This moment you're having right now this journey is destined for you to have it. It's like walking across hot coals, but you're supposed to be doing this. That's coming through. It's required of you for you to get to the next level. It's just the next step up. It just has to happen. It's just part of the process. But yeah, no, you need to watch out for your finances and be careful about how you're spending money, and be mindful about that, and have an end goal and have a budget. That's coming through. This death card here, I mean, it's just change. It's just change that is just, it's good change. It's change of things that need to be released. And the Wheel of Fortune here, yes, no, this is what I mean. Luck is on your side. It really is part of the journey for you. And again, this message is repeated and doubled down on with the Six of Wands. This is somebody who has actually overcome and is starting to move on. And interestingly enough, if what I was saying about creative endeavors in terms of the career, particularly if this is talking about creative careers for you, the Six of Wands again is the sign of creativity, the Wands cards. So this is somebody who is coming out on the other side of it and has actually remained victorious after having quite an intense fight on their hands. Your future self is really with you right now on this one. They're really, really behind you. They can see that it's hard and they are with you, and they know that your commitment is being tested. They want you to know it's going to be okay. They do not want you to catastrophize, however. They want you to actually be really productive. Time to take action and Knight of Pentacles are two cards are particularly I want to end this reading on. This is about taking action in a real sense. This is not about this procrastination, feeling trapped, feeling frightened and frustrated, being in your own head. This is about being active and making choices and getting on with it and making practical decisions. So that is where your future self is at the moment, pile 3. That's the messages that are coming out for you from your future self. I hope that was useful for you. If you enjoyed this reading, please subscribe. I have readings very regularly and I would love to have you back here. But until then, lots of love on your journey. See you later. Bye-bye.